Hello, everyone. My name is Aaron Cunningham. I'm the Director of Research and Analytics at Pensions and Investments, and I'm delighted to have with me today Edward Talmor Gera, the founder and CEO of NewVest. How are you?
Well, it's great to be back with you again. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you for another go at our one-word answer interview. But before we get started, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself, your company, what you're doing with alternatives, and kind of more of your day-to-day?
With pleasure. So I typically like introducing myself by saying I'm married into private equity. We were talking earlier about grades, and I did an MBA at the London Business School, and there was a certain professor there I figured I'd get close to and was my supervisor. And the only time I got an A++ grade, I stressed I got the grade first and then introduced me to his daughter, and I did end up marrying the professor's daughter. And he's quite well known as one of the preeminent professors of private equity, and that's how really I got into the world of private equity and married into private equity. So that's sort of my introduction to sort of the world of private equity. It started from an academic angle, and I've been in the past the private equity industry coach at the London Business School, and I was involved. I like putting some of the books and research that's up there. But really, I think that the thing which has been really very exciting for me is being the founder of NewVest, which is trying to help the evolution and the further development of private equity as an asset class and the way it operates, by creating the world's first investable passive index fund of private equity funds, of private debt funds, and other sub-asset classes of private markets. But it's really an evolution to the way in which one can get access in a more efficient way to private markets.
Perfect. Amazing. Thank you for that intro. Again, we're going to do a one-word answer interview, so a few ground rules before we get started. You can only answer with one word, which is very difficult, but there are 3 exceptions. You can have a no comment for one of them. You can have a clarification and expansion on that if you're so inclined, and you can always change your answer for one of your responses as well. Are you ready to dive in?
Palm sweating, ready to go.
All right, perfect. Well, the first question would be, what's the biggest theme in your sector of alternatives right now?
Passive investing in private markets, of course.
All right, perfect. And then what's one thing that's happening in the broader world, not with alternatives, that keeps you up at night?
Well, the fear of World War III.
World War III. All right. Yes, that would be quite scary. And then besides maybe alternatives specifically, what one asset class or sub-asset class are you most optimistic on over the next decade?
Private equity, by far, I'm most optimistic about. It's within alternatives, but I think I would say that it's about private equity no longer being alternatives. It's very much the mainstream. That's the core, better governance model for holding equities as a core exposure asset class.
Perfect. And within private equity, maybe just further clarification, buyout, venture, any particular subsector, or just broadly private equity?
The diversification of that, which is part of our approach to indexing, as in not trying to second guess sectors or strategies or particular managers, but the overall governance model of private equity as a true alpha over public equities and an aligned, well incentivized asset class. That's what I believe in.
Perfect. Well, that was not a leading question, but what is the asset class you're most pessimistic about? Is it listed equities? Is it fixed income? So over the long term, the next decade, what would you go short?
Crypto.
All right. Love that response. And then you do have a lot of conversations with your role as CEO of NewVest. What's the biggest challenge that you're hearing from them?
The agency problem. It's another incentives. It's around that is definitely the biggest challenge that we come up against.
Agency incentives, yes. That's a fundamental problem that I think all investors have. That's great. And then, of course, another way to say challenge is opportunity. So what is the biggest opportunity that you're seeing for investors right now?
Reducing risk whilst cutting cost in getting a more diversified exposure to private equity without having to go through consultants and funds of funds with all of those misaligned interests that exist today.
Right, understood. And then in 2025, could you handicap a buzzword in alts or institutional investing? What's the one kind of key phrase or word that people are talking the most about?
AI.
Yeah, okay. And then you mentioned World War III, which would fit into this category, but what is one gray swan event that has a low probability of occurring, would have a huge impact like World War III or another pandemic?
AI actually taking over in the way that some people talk about in that buzzword sense. I think it's a low probability of AI taking over, but it is a black swan that would change everything completely.
Amazing. Yeah, I think James Cameron was just actually out this week talking about how his prediction might actually come true. Now, in anticipation of the upcoming P&I World Pension Summit in The Hague this November 4th through 6th, we were hoping to ask you a few personal but not too personal questions. Would you be okay with that?
Of course, looking forward to the event. Not so much about the questions, but give it a try.
All right, amazing. So question number 9, if your colleagues were to describe you in one word, what would that word be?
Never give up.
Never give up. All right, I love that. And then what fun fact do you want to tell us about, or what's one hobby that you engage in your free time?
I take my boys climbing up mountains before sunrise and challenge them in that way.
That's amazing. Oh, that's a wonderful hobby. Great family time. If you could describe yourself in one word, what would that be?
That's really difficult. I'm not sure about that one. That may be one I duck out of.
All right, we're going with the no comment. Perfect. And then if you could say, I know you founded the company, so you must really enjoy it, but if you could summarize kind of in one word what you love the most about your job, what would that be?
Innovation, entrepreneurial spirit. It's the practical implementation on that, what might have been otherwise just purely academic, theoretical thinking, and just trying to actually do, not just teach and think about things. And hopefully it at the end of the day really is about seeing the end goal is making the asset class, which I so believe in, as we talked before, work in a better way, making it easier, more accessible to a broader set of audience. That I think that's in a more appropriate way. So I think that overall, as a tool in finance, that has a real impact, positive benefit, and impact socially, demographically, financially, potentially across the world.
Amazing. Innovation for the real world. Perfect. And then a completely self-interested question for number 13, the last one. What are you looking forward to the most about in a few short weeks, the upcoming P&I World Pension Summit in The Hague in early November?
It's always been great coming, and I am looking forward again. And it's been an amazing place to learn and build new networks, and hopefully build also some friendships which have come out of it. Really personally looking forward to learning about, again, what are some of the challenges that other institutions are really seeing out there, and how potentially we could be fitting into solving for that, whilst at the same time, spreading our gospel, like we've done in the past. It's been amazingly successful getting up on stage there, just showing the academic research that underpinned what we're doing, that has generated a lot of interest and demand from trustees and board levels and senior people at different pension, from around the world, who realize that actually the underpinning of this academic research means that they should potentially be doing differently the way they're investing into private markets. And so spreading the gospel in that way, with a sort of a non-solicitation, truly academic demonstration of what the historic data is and the fundamental idea behind it all, that has been a great place-based forum where one can present the data, have that open, honest discussion, and without having to be salesy, kind of just discuss it and build potential also business ties that can come to fruition after.
Right, perfect. So conversations and shared learning with current and future friends. So thank you so much for being a great sport and doing the one-word answer interview, and we look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks.
I look forward. Thank you. It's actually not that painful. It's quite good fun, actually. But thank you so much, and looking forward to seeing you soon.